Alrighty, everybody. Thank you for tuning in for episode 3 of the Real Truck Podcast. That means there are 2 other podcasts available for viewing if you haven't checked those out yet. I am Forrest, and we have with us Dustin and Chris. We did a little bit of a seat change today, but for those of you that are watching on YouTube, so let's see here. In truck news, there hasn't been a whole lot in the last 2 weeks since the last podcast. However, something interesting that we might bring up is Ford released a little bit of a teaser for the F-150 electric version, and that looks pretty sharp. So hopefully we'll see that coming out pretty soon. And there's been some other talk about electric trucks, and you were talking about earlier the Hummer from GM. Mm-hmm. They're offering or going to be offering an electric truck, and maybe we could talk a little bit about kind of where we're going to see that fit into the market, what kind of options there's going to be. Obviously, due to COVID, like everything else, it's delayed. But I think we were already supposed to, if COVID didn't happen, probably see Rivians out or pretty close to it.
Yeah, I thought they were coming out this fall or thereabouts. But I think those are pushed to mid-21 now. But going back to the F-150, I saw a little bit about it recently, just like you. Didn't see a whole lot of pictures though. I mean, did you guys find much aside from that kind of shadowy front end picture that Ford let go?
letting you know that the front end's going to be even more square and more lights and
and different.
And it will be different because we've already seen pictures of the new body F-150, the 2021 that's supposed to be coming out, but this picture makes it look like it's going to be different than the standard 2021 F-150, that new body. So they're going to look different, although it's an electric, I guess, which probably makes sense because they're probably going to need to make, frame and chassis differences between the two. So,
well, rumor has it, I think that the F-150 is actually built on the Rivian platform,
or vice versa.
Oh, really?
Which is interesting because way back when kind of some of the leak stuff was coming out about Rivian, they had an F-150 body on their chassis to like prevent you from knowing, what the finished product was going to look like. But I guess for those that haven't seen it yet, some stats on the F-150. Dual motors. It's going to have over-the-air updates like the Tesla or current Teslas do. In terms of power, it's supposed to be the fastest F-150 offered, so more horsepower and torque than any currently available F-150, which is pretty interesting. And they dropped a stat, which I don't know how this really works out yet, because I'm sure the initial cost is going to be so much higher, but supposedly you'll save more than 40% over the life of the truck on maintenance versus the gas-powered trucks. So, I guess if you're going to do those cost calculations over a longer period of time, maybe there is some savings there.
But calculating that on,
they didn't release a lot of detail on that. So I thought that was interesting.
I believe that could be close to it, though. I mean, when you're considering you're not changing any fluids, you have very few parts to actually replace.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole lot less preventative maintenance, more than just. I mean, what do you maintain on those things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Aside from
tires,
your normal wheel bearings, suspension components, stuff like that.
You'll still have. Well, the suspension components aren't going to be. I'd imagine those are probably going to be electronically controlled or air or something like that. So you will have components, but those might even have to be replaced less frequently than regular shock absorbers.
I hope so, because if it's sharing components pricey with Rivian, it is an air suspension, an air sprung suspension, and then I think the kind of anti-sway or motion control is hydraulically dampened. So should you have to replace those, which is typical with air suspensions over time. I mean, every car that's come out with air suspension seems like is notorious for leaking. I mean, how many times have you seen an S-Class Mercedes sitting on its bump stops because the springs have leaked overnight or whatever? But yeah, I mean, hopefully the service life on those is pretty long, because I'm sure it's going to be pretty expensive.
Right, and they might extend the warranties with it and things like that. But I mean, even with, obviously, Teslas have been the longest running electric vehicle that's been out currently, and at least the one that's been the most stable. And those very rarely need things replaced on them. And I'd imagine that an F-150 would be pretty close to the same, especially because Ford just has so much manufacturing power and R&D money and all sorts of stuff like that, which would help Rivian out a whole lot. And then that's Rivian's main goal. That's all they're building. So they're going to be donating a lot of time and effort to that. Now, also, like you talked about, how it's going to be the fastest truck that Ford's ever made. I mean, last episode we were talking a little bit about the Raptors and the new Ram TRX, which that's a supercharged Hellcat, and this Rivian and F-150, as they have it proposed right now, will beat it in a 0 to 60.
Yeah.
So you might spend $100,000 on a Ram TRX because it's a 6.2 supercharged Hellcat, but you could go get a Rivian or a electric F-150 off the lot and beat it by over a second in a 0 to 60.
The glaring difference will be the electric F-150 will be a lot different down the road than the
different
TRX.
experiences for sure.
Yeah. It is all-wheel drive, which I'm sure helps that, that 0 to 60, 0 to 100 speed. But yeah, it's going to be a lot heavier too, though. So it's not going to be nearly as capable as a TRX. I mean, if speed was all you wanted, sure,
it will be heavy, but it'll have a really low center of gravity.
That's true.
For off-roading, and also the at least the Rivian will have a quad motor option, which is better than four-wheel drive. You're going to have independent portal axles, essentially.
Right.
You could have
ultimate traction.
You could essentially have very, very high ground clearance with that too, and really good weight displacement and all sorts of stuff. So for off-roading, it could be pretty good.
That'd be interesting.
I don't know. So checking out the Rivian website, it's interesting to look at because they're like solely going after kind of the off-road adventure market,
which is
with their
interesting
truck.
to me too.
And not so much like fleet or anything else like that. But compared to Ford, which also said that they are developing a new mobile power generation unit for their EV F-150 that will let the truck be used as an electricity source on job sites, campgrounds, or in remote areas.
That's pretty sweet.
Got to support the work truck, It's the number one selling vehicle mostly because of its commercial aspect. And then obviously that would add a lot of utility.
It just adds another level of utility and functionality, right, compared to what they already have. However, not that that's still not good, and not to burst that bubble, but also the 2021 F-150s are going to apparently have an option to have a larger power inverter where you could plug things into the bed already. And I don't think that's on their electric one. I could be wrong. I saw a promo video about it, and then when they were doing their release at that auto show, and you will be able to plug stuff in, and it has apparently a pretty big power bank on it already without being the electric truck. However, with the electric truck, how long could you run a corded drill?
Of course, at the same time, I don't want my truck to not drive me home because I've been cutting lumber all day, running it off a battery pack. So yeah, not entirely sure there.
But from an off-roading aspect, I think it would be pretty neat to see where that kind of stands up and what people will do to it. Unfortunately, with us being on kind of the aftermarket side of things, I hope there's a lot of aftermarket accessories and options with the new electric trucks, but we'll see.
That'll actually be really interesting. I admittedly don't know a ton about, what people are doing to coming from, the car scene years ago, like modifying Teslas, you get your normal gas powered car and you can do intake, headers, exhaust, tunes,
right,
bolt on forced induction, stuff like that. And what do you do to?
I don't think there's any tuning because they lock the software so heavily. You can't really. It's a driving computer, so you can't really adjust a lot of the suspension because it's just going to throw off all sorts of sensors and everything. I mean, even when we see trucks that have air ride in the rear or the front now, makes it incredibly hard to lift those things. And that's not even the highest tech electric models like we'll probably see. And of course, when Ford and Rivian are developing these, they're developing them to be off-road capable and very utilitarian from the dealership, and they're not really necessarily considering us being able to have everything. You'll still probably be able to get your standard all your cab accessories and tonneau covers, running boards, and your wheels and tires. However, suspension and stuff.
But it looks like the Rivian actually comes with like a built-in tonneau and cross rail system. So like the bed rails have mounting points for the cross rail system. Looks like there's a retractable cover of some sort built in. So whether Ford picks that up on their model, remains to be seen. But
that's true.
Hopefully there's some room for us to play with, different aftermarket upgrades.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And with all that being said, I think that the electric trucks are gonna have a really good fit in the current truck market. We have so many people moving into trucks that are first-time truck owners more than ever before, and we're seeing it used to just be for people who needed a tow heavier. You work construction or something, years and years ago, but now everyone everyone just likes daily driving a F-150, all these crew cab short bed trucks and stuff. So I think adding the electric trucks will just kind of add another level to that. But I'm not sure exactly what customer it's going to be what slice of the current truck market pie is the electric truck's going to be taking. Who is that customer, or what niche are they filling, and I think where the price point's going to sit.
The fact that it's going to have a massive frunk, I think it really is going to take the real comfort kind of niche aspect, which is turning into a bigger and bigger segment of the truck market right now.
Yeah, I think it's probably your DD kind of suburbanite, truck owner that I don't think that. No one's really talked about what happens to range on these things when you do start to tow, couple thousand pounds. But you've got or you put even if it's not that heavy, a big box trailer behind the truck is obviously like a huge amount of aerodynamic drag. So that always impacts your mileage. But, if we're thinking about, what most of us do in our vehicle and is driving to and from work and maybe hauling a couple things somewhere on the weekend, Home Depot or Lowe's or to the woods or whatever. I feel like that's the market. And that's probably why Rivian is going, positioning themselves the way that they are. And then maybe, we don't know, I guess, a whole lot about what is coming from like GM from Hummer. But, you could kind of see that going the same way as Rivian, but maybe like a little more upscale.
Yep.
Like a Cadillac or something like that.
And I say all of this and I should kind of, I should say too, I'd buy one. It's me. I'd buy one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
We could also title this segment, things that Chris wants but can't afford, because I would like the Rivian. I know it kind of looks funky, but like they're marketing that to me. I want one bad.
It threw me off. It looks so futuristic. It looks like a concept car that would never actually happen. Yeah, but it's actually happening, and it's really starting to grow on me. I say this about probably every other new body truck that comes out. I think it looks too futuristic. It looks a little too crazy, and I'm loving it. Yep. And then it grows on me. The Rivian looks like one of those, but it's really starting to grow on me, and a lot of it is it's designed for function, like that storage that goes like behind the back door between the bed and all sorts of like just cool stuff like that. You probably won't be able to heavily modify them, but I'd own one. It's still, I don't tow super heavy. I tow often, but not heavy. It still has an 11,000 pound towing capacity, a 400-mile range, although that will certainly go down pretty good once you're towing. But that has equivalent to up to 750 horsepower.
Yeah,
I mean, out of a super front truck like that. So I think price point will be
though.
Right. Yeah,
but, I was looking at that. I was eyeballing that pre-order button though this morning, but it's not as. What was Tesla, like $100 refundable deposit for the Cybertruck?
So
Rivian is $1,000, and I don't know that it's refundable, so I didn't click buy now.
I'm sure pretty much everybody has heard about the Cybertruck by now, the Tesla Cybertruck. I still don't know if it's real. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, but I know we've kind of talked about it offline, but that that was a PR stunt.
I think I called that immediately. Yeah. Just the way it looked, you could tell there's no way.
It's almost like he's trolling to market. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And $100 refundable.
He's just forcing everyone else's hand, and we're getting some good trucks out of it.
Yes. And also speaking of that too, the what was it? California signed a bill saying in California by 2035 there's going to be no gas vehicles sold. New gas vehicles sold.
Yeah. Which means people will probably just go to Arizona, buy a new vehicle, and then come back, drive it into California, and it'll be worth like 20% more than an actual new one.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, used car values will probably just go up quite a bit. Yeah. Because let's be real though. Like we still haven't seen an affordable electric vehicle. Like Tesla talks about it all the time.
The Tesla Model 3s are affordable.
Yeah, I'd consider that affordable.
Okay,
I'd consider that affordable.
It's new. Probably not for most people.
If you compare it to new car prices,
yeah, I'd agree with that. What is it? 30,000, 35, somewhere around there.
All right, fine. I'll make this harder on you.
Okay.
I haven't seen an affordable electric truck yet.
There you go.
So, the Rivian, we talked about the starting price at $69,000 or $70,000, and that's for the two motor, like base, like smaller battery, quote unquote base model Rivian.
Yeah.
I'm sure the F-150 is as expensive as they're getting already. The electric one's going to come in kind of at the top of that range.
And I wonder too if the electric one is only going to come in higher trim packages or higher trim levels, or if they're going to offer a work edition also. Because like you were mentioning, I think it could fit a fleet market pretty good. Or
vinyl floor, single cab.
Yeah, they're going to have that, and then they're only
Absolutely.
available in Lariats and Platinums. Past that, or it would be hard. It would almost be hard to imagine that they would be able to offer all their current trim packages and options and everything, but who knows?
Yeah. I'd imagine they start high end, and then as more of these electric trucks become normalized, then they're going to start offering it in the lower packages, probably work trim and stuff like that.
Oh, I'm sure we'll get there.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be a while.
Right.
Yeah.
In the meantime, though, I'm going to keep putting my spare change in my coffee can, and maybe one day I'll have enough money to buy a Rivian because they are awesome.
Yep, and
I want to do tank turns.
Oh, yep, the four-wheel drive, four-wheel steer.
Yeah, that's what you can do with four independent motors.
That's true.
So, kind of speaking of the off-road thing, to transition into our Tundra build is done, and episode 3 would have been released yesterday.
Yep.
So go check that out. That was a really, really fun build. And there it is in all of its glory. I'm not sure how much you can see it, but that was one of our first, if not our first company Overland build, or more off-road focused build. So I think we might have touched on it a little bit in previous podcasts, but now we can talk about it as much as we want because it's already built. All the episodes are out now.
As far as I know, you've watched all 3 episodes at this point and liked and subscribed and told us we're awesome or horrible people.
You can't wait for the next build series.
I know, right?
Can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next one. And honestly, I've built a lot of personal trucks and had experience with others, but not with this style before. This is more Chris's wheelhouse, and we built this together. But it inspired me so much that I built an F-150 rather similar to this.
Yeah.
So
not
and
quite
I'm really
as
liking
extreme, but
yeah, it's one of those things where it's super functional for daily driver. All sort of daily driver applications, but it looks aftermarket enough and aggressive enough that it. I still turn around when I'm walking in a parking lot.
Yeah, it still catches your eye pretty easily.
Yeah, but I'm not joking when mine rides better than factory. This thing rides better than factory, in my opinion. It rides a little bit stiffer, because this is the Icon stuff, and it is on a bigger tire, but you still have plenty of meat on that tire because you're running a smaller wheel and not too much offset. But you have plenty of clearance and liking the bed racks too.
Yeah, the bed rack's pretty incredible.
That's been pretty.
Well, just to
pretty
give
convenient.
the real quick, so if anybody's listening and not watching this on YouTube, so to give you a little bit of background on the build, was kind of on it was essentially leveled, but on a kind of older Fox setup, small wheel or big wheels, smaller tires, didn't have really a theme or a look or anything. We weren't really doing anything with it, so. The build itself, it's a 2016 Tundra. We put an Icon Stage 6 setup, so that comes with their adjustable coilovers with a remote reservoir and adjustable damping. Comes with a progressive Adeleaf pack. Comes with the upper control arms with delta joints instead of the uniballs, which is pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's an upgrade I'm going to have to make on mine in the future.
Same.
Method, I looked it up this time, Dustin. MR312
MR3
in bronze, 35 1250 Falcon Wild Peak MTs, a Retrax XR. I'm sorry, it's a Gator.
You would put me on the spot on that.
Oh my god,
that's the hard
we're
fold. But
failing. It's the Gator hard rolling tonneau cover under a Putco VentureTech rack, and then we've got some Max Tracks and Rotopacks fuel canisters and stuff like that mounted on it.
The Gator HR1.
HR1.
Hard roll.
This is
HR.
embarrassing for us, actually.
It is.
And then I skipped over the bumpers, but we have the front and rear Stealth Fighter bumpers from ADD, which look really, really slick. The truck, again, it's only 2.5, 3 inches of lift. We fit 35s on it, so it looks aggressive. It looks big, but still low center of gravity. Episode 3, we took it out to the woods. Forrest and I went out there and kind of put it through its paces. And to start
how'd she
off,
perform?
it was great.
It was really
I was
fun.
super impressed. I was going to say, to start off, like, we went to this area that had like some little whoops and stuff like that, and Forrest was driving at the time, and I thought for sure we were going to take some hard hits and kind of clenched up a little bit, but
Yeah.
nothing. It just
You see a big dip coming, you're like, ugh! And you grab on the steering wheel with 2 hands, and it's like boop boop, and it doesn't even feel anything. You're like, oh, okay.
Incredible.
Really controlled, really nice.
Yeah.
Really and then we went to some other places where, lots of kind of off camber, rutted out, kind of clay walled terrain, and those tires held great. They bit into the, whatever we were going up and over really, really well. So super impressed overall by the whole build. Unfortunately, we ran out of time in that episode before, it took, these things take, looks like 5 minutes worth of driving, but it was a day's worth of driving and filming. But we didn't get to kind of take it I really wanted to take it through like a giant mud puddle and just try to sink it.
Yeah.
Like that was my goal.
We have had a lot of rain recently. We should try to go mud it soon.
We could.
Plenty of that around here.
Yeah, definitely.
We can go over to Hard Rock or something and maybe do a little mild rock crawling, and then there's definitely mud over there.
Yes, there is. I've lost a shoe there.
Some other employees of RealTruck have lost motors there.
Oh,
yep.
If you remember that.
Yeah,
so
not our best track record at that place.
Is a real thing when you're running an open filter.
Speaking of that, when's the snorkel going on this one?
We should.
I mean,
we've done it before.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to cut.
We could.
Especially not on it's somebody else's truck.
So definitely for a list of parts that I would say we should, that I would be interested in adding to this in the future. I didn't even think about it before now, but a snorkel I think would be really cool, especially if we're planning on doing some more mudding and some more stuff out at Hard Rock or in the forest.
Well, the dirty secret on snorkels is that on modern trucks, the electronics are gonna probably go out long before the engine starts to suck up water. Except in the exact story I just told a minute ago, where the opposite happened.
Right. Is that happening
So
with the new TRD Tacomas? You can get that as an option, but
it's a factory dust intake.
That's what it is. That's what
they definitely don't want to advertise it as a snorkel. It might mislead a few people.
Well, that's definitely the added benefit. So I have one on my truck. Part of it was driving around in the woods. You're in a convoy. You get 10, 12 people. Lots of dust on the road. Obviously, moving the air intake up higher, away from where that dust is generated is a positive thing. Mm-hmm. I've definitely noticed a decrease in the amount of like literal sand in my air box when I change air filters, which is great.
It's not sucking out of the fender. And
right. But so that is like an added benefit. But of course, everybody thinks you put one on there, and I get asked at gas stations all the time, like, so you put that up under the windshield? Has the windshield been underwater yet? I'm like, no, I don't. It's more of a just in case thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they look cool.
In the meantime,
so I totally support putting one on this.
Yeah. I think maybe some other bed accessories. We have some really good bed accessories on there right now, but maybe just for additional storage and stuff like that. Yeah. Because when you do put that rack on, it's similar to adding a fiberglass top, where you can't just, it's harder to just reach over the side of the bed and grab what you need. So if you had something like
it's just a taller truck now than it was.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So
if you had something like a bed slide or something like that, that would be really functional, so that you can just, slide everything in and out and be able to access everything a little bit easier. And I think we'll probably end up adding a tent on the top of it. Try to do some trips in it and things like that. And of course, that just kind of, it'd be easier to not have to crawl underneath the tent, or once it's deployed or something like that, if you had a slide. But
yeah, it's usually not so bad. If you just have a rack system, you don't have anything on it. You can generally like reach over it, reach through it, whatever. But it's like when you start putting Rotopacks cans or Max Tracks, which if you are not familiar with Max Tracks, they're just a traction board that you can stick under your tires to help get unstuck. But they're a couple feet long by call it like 3 feet long by 18 inches wide, something like that. So it's a panel that you're putting on the side of the rack. So as you add this stuff, like it's harder and harder to get in the bed. So something like a bed slide or a drawer system or something like that.
There's always an aftermarket part to solve your problems.
Exactly.
There's always an aftermarket part.
Take it from us.
Yeah.
We have no vested interest in that at
all. But yeah, I like that. I like that rack on there too, and we'll probably end up adding a tent onto that. So since we kind of talked about it a little bit in the last podcast, and we've been listing tents on the site and things like that, we've been getting a lot of questions on how tents are mounted and what kind of options that people have, because they're always referred to as rooftop tents, because generally that's what's happening when people are putting them on Jeeps, Land Cruisers, 4Runners, all that kind of stuff, and that's they mount on luggage racks on top. However, in the truck scene, they're not really mounted on the roof nearly as much. They're going to be mounted on the bed, so that it gives you more options for mounting, but sometimes it can be a little complicating to people if you haven't done it before and knowing what parts you need. So Chris, I'll kind of like let you handle that because I defer to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, the mounting systems are pretty universal. I mean, at the core, you need some kind of crossbar system. Most of the tents have some extruded aluminum rails underneath them that you've got, bolts that kind of slide in on little mounts, slide into those aluminum rails, and you can adjust the spacing. And, I had a custom rack built that's a little thicker than your traditional like Yakima, Thule, Rhino rack, whatever crossbar system. So, you just go down to the hardware store and buy a couple of, longer bolts. And then there's basically a bar that, kind of goes on the underside of the crossbar system and, clamps down. And there's usually 4 of them. You can obviously add more. Like, I was a little nervous, when you're shopping for rack systems, they obviously have a advertised weight capacity, which is great when you're going down the highway, but what you don't often see, it is becoming more common just because of people mounting tents and accessories on, your kind of standard crossrail systems. They're starting to advertise dynamic load capacity, which is usually like a third of the stated like static or on-road capacity. So, if you're looking at a 600-pound capacity rack, off-road, you should really only load it with like 200 pounds.
Right.
Just because when the vehicle's shaking and leaning side to side, it's putting a lot of
elevated
different stresses
that much higher above your bed.
So, most tents, unless you're getting into like the big like 4-person plus tents, they're usually like 120 to like 150 pounds. So pretty manageable with like a standard 2-rail system. I've seen some people, in fact, I ran 3 under mine. I'm paranoid, I guess. I don't know.
At the heart of it, in order to mount a tent, for anyone who's interested in mounting a tent, at the heart of it, you need some sort of crossbar system. So whether that's it's going to be luggage racks, which certainly you still could mount it on top of the roof and mount a tent up there by all means. However, like we have this rack on here. You can get front runner racks, Thule racks, Yakima racks, Rhino racks. And a lot of those racks are going to mount to your bed rail. Some can work in conjunction with a hard roll-up cover, like the ones that we have here. However, also what's sort of new, at least in the last year, is RealTruck has a RealTruck XR cover, which has the T-slot rails built into the rails on the cover. And then that allows you to add, there's front runner racks, there's Thule racks for that. You could just add regular luggage racks, which are only going to sit 6 or 8 inches above the bed, which keeps it below the cab and probably a little bit more aerodynamic and a little bit lower. And then you can even get some more of the tall Thule racks that are going to put it, well above the cab. So as far as for mounting those, you can go with or without a cover, but it won't. Not every rack will work with every cover. There's only a few covers that have those T-slot rails or racks that can work with a roll-up cover that kind of keep it out of the way, because a lot of times the rack will have to mount at the same point that a cover would.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is a lot of these crossbar systems or rack systems angle in, So, I'm not talking like the ladder rack stuff, which, is obviously probably they have a little more flexibility in like how robust they build it, because they're kind of going straight up on the sides. And there are definitely tonneau options that work with like ladder racks. But kind of for the off-road market, the rack systems are a different style. They tend to slope in. So it's tough to find one that works with a tonneau. So, I mean, that's one of the things I like about this Putco rack so much, is that we're able to get that hard roll-up cover under it.
Right.
And because honestly, like if that existed, or the RealTruck XR, something like that existed when I built my rack, I probably would have gone that route. So I definitely miss, like, when I don't have a house on my truck, I still have an open bed at this point. And I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Right now it's just, the trees are starting to shed leaves, and my bed is full of like half decomposed leaves.
It's really nice being able to have kind of best of both worlds, where I still have the retractable cover and that can lock at any position. Then I still have the rack on top of it. And I don't plan on keeping a tent on there at all times. But in the meantime, when that's off, I plan on getting some sort of other like Pelican storage boxes or something that I can put on top of there and keep some extra, safety or emergency equipment, keep ratchet straps, hitch accessories, all that kind of stuff, some, outdoors equipment and whatever, be able to get it out of my bed and keep it locked away and watertight up there. And
you know what this means, Dustin?
What's that?
He's gone full Overland.
It sounds like it.
Basically.
Yeah. It sounds like it.
Basically.
He never said those words up until today.
No. That means he's probably going to change his Instagram handle.
Oh,
I mean, I just can't believe he didn't go with 26-inch rims on his latest build.
These are the smallest wheels I've ever bought.
The 20s, right?
The smallest wheels I've ever. It's a different.
So you could have gone 18, right?
Yeah.
We'll work on you.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we need more sidewall.
We'll get there.
We need more bead
There's a
block.
lot of sidewall for me, and I'm enjoying it though.
It's comfortable. Isn't
I mean,
it?
you're getting
It is.
older.
It's a different world.
It is.
It's a different world.
You're entering a different. If I can speak properly this morning, you're entering a different phase of life. Mm-hmm.
I am.
Now you're just appreciating, smaller wheels, more comfort.
I really am.
Yep. Got rid of that solid axle, loud diesel truck, and he's on to dad build.
I think with my current wheel and tire setup, I don't think I have to worry about curbing, which is the first.
That's nice too.
Like a free feeling when you're pulling into a parking spot.
Yeah.
You go through those tight drive-throughs.
In fact, I will say with an off-road wheel, a little curb rash kind of makes it look
That's true.
Like you've been somewhere. Like he
yeah.
actually uses his truck.
Although it happened in a bank drive-through.
We don't tell everybody that.
Yeah, we don't tell everyone. Yeah, we just post on Instagram.
Yeah,
talk about it.
Just make sure that you can't see the mall behind you.
So overall, it sounds like these tents are a lot easier, almost more universal than originally.
They are very universal.
Very universal,
like a lot of the rack systems.
I mean, now you're drilling into these crossbars, right? For the mounting holes.
It's almost
the bolts go on either side, and then there's a plate underneath that kind of clamps it.
There you go.
It's really simple. The only difficult part is because of just how big and cumbersome they are. Is you can't really take them on and off by yourself. Mm-hmm. So you kind of need a buddy or two in order to help you kind of get that off and on. And if you were to store it in your garage, I know you set up a nice loft system.
It takes up a lot of space,
but it does take up a lot of space, especially if it's better if you have a loft system or you can put it away some. But if you just had it sitting in your garage flat on the floor, it would take up a lot of space.
Yeah, and I think you can store them on their side. I see a lot of guys get like a moving dolly and they'll like build a little kind of like leaning support or whatever and stand it on their side so they can move it around. But your options are it's taking up space in the garage or it's living on the back of your truck. And
some people just let it live on the back of their truck with those covers. It's watertight. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean you will be replacing that cover every couple of years because depending on where you live. I mean, I don't care how great the quality is, like the sun or the winter or whatever, it's going to be hard on that over time.
For sure.
Another thing that comes up a lot, and I actually just had a friend borrow my tent, and I'll tell you, if you're looking at tents and you're going somewhere and you think it's going to be cold, it's going to be cold in that tent. You're not on the ground.
It's breezy.
So you've got, the air moving above you, below you, and he went out west. He was out there the week before you.
Yeah.
But he said that it got super chilly one night and they only brought they put a sheet. So these tents have a mattress in them, which is great. They're super comfortable because they have a nice foam, like memory foam mattress. He put a sheet on it and then brought a blanket. Ooh. And it was like in the 40s or 50s and they were freezing to death.
Yeah, that's not.
So he ended up sleeping in his truck that night.
Yep.
With the heater on because they were too cold. But then they went and got more sleep.
However, that's probably rarely most people's problems because I would rather know it's going to be cold and prepare for it than it be hot and I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's what this is a PSA.
Right. Yeah, it is. It is.
Bring
better.
some blanket or use a sleeping bag.
Still a sleeping bag or something for the.
Yeah, I think I said this in the last podcast, but I'm not sleeping on the ground again. There's no need.
No,
it's the best.
You mentioned that.
So, it's definitely convenient. Gets you up off the grounds. You're not, there's nothing like poking you in the back in the middle of the night, like a root or rock or whatever.
But it also saves space in your bed, so you don't need all your tent and everything else. You can put it up and down so much easier for one night trips and stuff.
I mean, you had never done it before. How long did it take you to set up?
So I can set it up in about 3.5 minutes, take it down in about 3.5 minutes by myself.
So if you've never seen one of these get set up before, it's you see it looks like a big box. It essentially is. The tent is folded in half, and you basically take the cover off, grab the ladder, and open it, and it's done.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things you got to do after that, so it's super easy.
You mean it doesn't have those awesome supports that you have to fold and
you
then
don't have
slide
to
into the
yeah.
slot.
You don't have
and
to
then,
do the bungee
and then
poles
bend
or
it just the right way.
Yeah.
And then try and
None of
have
that.
somebody else hold it, because you're
Yeah.
gonna try to like.
and then you start yelling at each other whenever
Yeah.
the other person didn't support it the right way and all
It's
that kind
super
of stuff.
easy to fit back in the bag. You don't have, instead of the other standard Coleman tents and stuff like that.
Sounds like
it's
the
really
life.
easy.
They are a lot of
losing.
fun.
You're not losing parts, and
Yeah,
they're fun.
it's like a little treehouse.
Treehouse
like
for
a tree
adults.
You get to
for-
climb, you get
for
to climb
adults.
up your ladder to go
Yep.
in there and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's neat. But alrighty, guys. Well, I guess that's it for episode 3. So we want to thank you for watching. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe wherever you're listening or watching our podcast, and stay tuned for episode 4 coming out soon. And go check out the Tundra series if you haven't already. Thanks.